Welcome. I'd like to welcome everybody to the August edition of the Tucson Macintosh User Group. And first time guests, I don't see anybody in here right now who is new to me. Um, Free raffle tickets for the super raffle. Uh, and you could win $200 Apple gift card next March, but you need to be a paid up member during the month. We take your name down and a paid up member in March. Kurt will be taking attendance tonight and he will fill out the raffle slips for each of the members. To be eligible, we need the screen names displayed must match with the record of the current TMUG membership. And I'd like to welcome everybody. And I want to ask you to join us in celebrating monsoon season and Kurt Blanchard's birthday, which is taking place in a couple of days, um, and National Potato Day, almost as important as Kurt's birthday,
Right.
and National Bacon Lovers Day, which might be more important
That's
than
every
Kurt's
day of the
birthday,
week.
and a National Senior Citizens Day.
And
We
my
will
birthday
That's
gather.
was
also every day of the
yesterday.
week.
We will gather again in September on the 16th at the same virtual location. This month we'll be talking about the AppleCare One plan. Hello, Melissa. And is it for you? When is the best time to upgrade your operating system? And a look back at Macstock 9. In September, we'll have another Ask Me Anything session hosted by Kevin. Normally at this time, I would say take a look at the chat window for a link to the online presenters review poll. But we're going to be doing it different this month, and hopefully this will carry forward. We'll kind of get to that shortly. And filling out the review poll is important to us to help us plan for the future as to what you want to see. Okay, Bob Doms, our newsletter editor of over a decade, is retiring from the TMUG job after the June issue. I guess I didn't really edit this for August. Um, the TMUG board gives their thanks to Bob for his faithful and timely service over the years. I didn't really realize it was more than a decade when he announced his retirement. He is going to be working more for his church as a for all of their digital needs. And we'd like to welcome David Acklin, who has stepped up to be the new editor. With this personnel change, we have started using a new service to lay out and publish the newsletter. That means it's going to look different. And if you looked at your newsletter already, you will see that it is different. We're still trying to figure everything out. Um, Diana has applauded probably Bob Doms. One of the good things about the new service is that the newsletter will now look one way on your Mac and a different way on your iPhone. It reformats itself. One of the bad things that we're still plaguing us with is that when I print to PDF, several of the links in there go away or change or become non-useful. I'm still trying to figure out how to best do that. So please cut us a little slack. Okay, Roger told me a little earlier today that he has put the review poll into Zoom, and it is my understanding that when you leave, it will prompt you to do the review at that time. Oh, Beth Murphy, welcome. We have a new member, Beth. Happy to have you here. Okay. The poll just came up um, in Zoom to me, and it talks about our different stuff here, and it has some other areas where you get to speak your onions rather than just picking a number. We have a virtual door prize during our Zoom meetings. In June, the winner was Bob Doms, and we congratulate him, although I don't think he's here at this time. Bob will continue to be a T-Mug member, even if he's not the editor anymore. We ask you to subscribe to the T-Mug YouTube channel uh, and forward your newsletters to friends, neighbors, and relatives that um, might benefit from it. We have an exclusive Macstock discount code. We talked a little bit, it was mentioned during the Ask Me Anything session. If you decide that you want to get the digital pass whereby you can see all the presentations, you can get 20% off with the code TMUG20. Are there any other announcements that I forgot? Are there any for sales or wanted to buy items? Then we're going to move on and move into the tech update and security news. If our vice president is ready and he's giving me the okay signal. So take it away, Ridge.
Okay, here we are for August. And of course, first things first, software updates. These are also included in your newsletter if you are subscribed to our newsletter. And probably the important ones on this page are the 1Password update. And if you're using Chrome and Firefox. And if those who are running Office for Mac, there's quite a bit of updates there. And the Zoom Workplace for today is 6.5.10. And Apple is also active in releasing software updates. And you can see them all there. And I'll pass on to the next screen, which is the updates that are coming. These are software that's either in beta, have been released as beta, or they're still being tested at Apple and haven't been released yet, or they're in a release candidate that is not the final version. And we look at macOS 26, 26.1 and 26.4 are still in test at Apple, still being tested. Their third quarter financial report was released. And the total receipts were up, and the sales for iPhones were up, and services were up, and their earnings per share were up. Only $800 million was spent on tariffs, where the industry was thinking it would be more like 900 million or more. So Apple did pretty well. Now, when iOS 26 is released, new emojis are supposed to be released along with it, and these are what they're going to look like. I like the apple, eating apple, and the treasure chest. Apple also with macOS 26 Tahoe is going to change some of the icons that it has in their operating system for the applications and functions. And they thought it was right for them to change those icons. And nobody seems to really know why the old ones were so bad that they needed to be replaced. So some of them you gotta really think about. And I have a screen next that has old icons on the left and the new one on the right. There's what Time Machine is going to look like. I liked Disk Utility the way it was, and Contacts. And I liked the old Macintosh hard drive icon. And then there's the text edit, not going to have a pencil associated with it. And the calendar, you're going to have to figure out what that really means, because it doesn't tell you that it's really a calendar icon. And for America Online, they're saying that on September 30, their dial-up services uses phone modems. It's not going to work anymore. They're going to discontinue it, but it's not going to shut down their plan benefits that you're going to be able to continue to use. So if you got well with your email provided by the internet, you're going to be okay. And here are some things about OS 26 Tahoe you might be interested in. The top 6 Macs are what are likely to run Tahoe, but it's not going to run on the older MacBook Pros and Macs that got MacBook Airs that have Intel chips in them. And officially, Apple is saying that OS 26 is going to be the last operating system that will run on Intel-based Macintoshes. And any of the future Mac operating releases is going to be for Apple Silicon-based equipment with M1, M2, M3, M4 chips in them and so forth. And it's also apparent Apple has removed all FireWire support in Mac OS 26, and they're not going to revive it. Those who are using Chrome, Google has announced that version 138 of Chrome is going to be the last version that can run on Mac OS 11 Big Sur. And Chrome 139 requires Mac OS 12 Monterey or later. Miscellaneous. The Skechers folks have introduced a version of its children's footwear line that has support for the AirTag in it, so parents can keep track of the shoes and the kids wearing them. There's a small compartment in the heel of the shoe, which they can hide an AirTag under the insole. Dropbox has announced that as of October 28th, their Dropbox Passwords app will be discontinued. So they recommend transferring your passwords to another trusted and secured password manager application such as 1Password. As far as nostalgia goes, the company RR Auction is again holding an Apple-focused auction that's going to end in about a week or so. And the next screen has a picture of the items that are being included in that auction. Tim Cook signed baseball on first issue of Macworld, and an Apple One that works signed by Woz and its owner, and an unopened original iPhone, and the back of a check endorsed by Steve Jobs. As far as rumors go, the so-called iPhone Fold is supposed to start production in mid-2026. Well, we don't know that, but we'll have to wait and see. How about an iPad Pro with M5 chip in it being released later this year? Is an update to AirPods coming with an AirPods Pro 3? And are they working on a lower cost 13-inch MacBook that's going to have an A18 iPhone processor in it and be available at the end of this year? How about an OLED screen for a MacBook Pro coming next year? Well, we're going to have to wait and see on all of this stuff. The iPhone 17 is supposed to launch next month, maybe. And there's online rumor says Apple's testing the new shape Mac Mini with M5 Pro and Max chips in it. And there's some online rumors that say that 2027 may be the year of release for that folding iPhone, and it should have iOS 27 in it. And are they testing a new high-end Mac Pro powered by an unreleased M4 Ultra chip, codenamed Hydra? And is Apple going to release new watches, iPads, and Macs with M5s in them and an updated Vision Pro later this year? Well, once again, we're going to have to wait and see on all of this stuff. That's just what the online rumor mill is reporting so far. So thanks for your attention to this part of my presentation. And now we'll take a look at items of security interest. As far as software that's had critical security fixes, Firefox for Mac, 52. Microsoft Office for Mac, 43 fixes. And Google only had one fix in its Chrome for Mac. Apple had many security updates. The operating systems from Ventura Sonoma Sequoia. That's macOS 13, 14, and 15. Look at all those fixes. Wow. Fixing security problems. And iOS and iPad OS got fixes, as well as TV and Vision and the watch. Cybercrime turning now, as of last June 18th, a security team at Cyber News found 30 databases containing over 16 billion stolen credentials. And those data sets appeared briefly online. Nobody knows who owns the data set, but it's a massive breach, taking everything else pale in comparison. And the data sets included user login for pretty much any online service imaginable, including Apple, Facebook, and Google, and probably the result of numerous attacks by the program called InfoStealer. Each of those 30 data sets contained between tens of millions to 3.5 billion credentials, which included a URL address, a login, and password. And they also mentioned that those who practice good password hygiene should be safe. And the largest database they saw had 3.5 billion records, seemed to be from Portuguese-speaking populations, while 445 million records were Russian. So for now, I guess we're okay. In preventing problems like that on the internet, it's a good idea to get in some good habits using two-factor authentication if it's offered, and a password manager that generates better unique passwords. And think about protecting your data online with pass keys, which rely on a hardware device that is usually protected and which basically replaces your username and password with your hardware device and a rock solid way to lock down an account. And they also mention never open a link from an unknown number or email, and never give somebody personal details over the phone unless it's a verified number or one you dialed personally. And when in doubt whether a link in an email or a text is real, go to the browser yourself, log into the account manually instead of clicking on a link. There's more fraudulent apps coming, maybe. This is from a recent Apple Insider Online article. It says Apple no longer has the sole app store for iPhones in the European Union, and that makes it look certain that it'll be forced to allow third-party stores worldwide. And it's, of course, Apple's interest to hold onto its own app store. And the company has long also argued that the alternative is a privacy and security issue for users. And back 4 years ago, for instance, Craig Federici described the ability to load other apps onto the iPhone as a gold rush for cyber criminals. And the only thing more certain than that third-party app stores are coming is that there's going to be more fraud because of even less curation of the system. And the only thing more certain than this is that Apple was going to be sued for it, even if an app is hosted on a third-party app store. And they're going to be sued because people are not going to be distinguishing between the different providers. And because few other providers, and certainly not online financial group leaders, will have as much money as Apple does. And there's fake texts coming, this time from UPS, supposedly, to gain access to the iPhone user personal information. These text messages claiming to be from UPS have been popping up as part of a new phishing scam, much like the fake DMV text earlier, which scared people with claims of unpaid traffic tickets and threats of legal action. This fake message even instructs you how to reschedule delivery, and it claims that failing to do so is going to cause the unspecified package to be returned to its sender. The text includes a link to a fake UPS website and urges the victim to reply with the letter Y to activate the link. And if you reply with that Y, the scammers then know they have a real possible victim and will further tempt you to do other things that may result in a successful phishing of your iPhone personal information. And the moral of this is don't reply to this phishing scam. And Apple has tried to help you by introducing a safeguard that removes clickable links in messages that are from unknown senders. July 4th, the ringleader of a $30 million scam network that preyed on seniors across a staggering 46 states has finally been arrested and now faces decades in prison for the fraud. Gareth West from Canada was taken into custody for the scamming ring in which callers phoned older Americans pretending they were their grandchildren who had been arrested or hurt and were desperate for cash. The worried elders were pressured to act fast and not tell other family members. The scammers would then connect the victims to phony lawyers or bail agents and facilitate getting the money, even using rideshare services, so forth. West, who was taken into custody by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police at the request of U.S. hired dozens of people to help him with the intricate scam. In all, 23 people who were part of the scam had been arrested in the months before the Mounted Police, working with U.S. Homeland Security investigations. The Internal Revenue Service and provincial police were able to nab West. He faces charges of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and money laundering and can face up to 40 years in federal prison. And thanks for your attention. And of course, the overall moral of this whole presentation is stay safe on the internet. And thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Ridge. Appreciate all the work you go through to put that together for us. Now we're going to take a look at AppleCare One. This is a new program that Apple has just announced recently, and it is a way to bundle AppleCare, think AppleCare Plus, into a bundle. Not, we have one person here, Susan, who has done it, but the proof will be in the pudding. I have a quick little keynote presentation that I'm going to share for that. You should be seeing it now.
We see it.
But we don't hear you. You're muted, Bob.
Gee, I thought I wasn't. Okay, thank you. The observant among you will notice that there's one Apple item that is not depicted here, and we'll talk about that soon. Okay, here are some of the features of AppleCare One. It covers multiple products for one price, basically $20 a month for 3 products. You can add more products for $6 each per month. The benefits include what was in AppleCare Plus: unlimited repairs, 24 hours support, theft and loss protection. Those are all good things. And you can add already owned products that are up to 4 years old if they're in good condition. Here's AppleCare One. Here's one of the ways to participate. You can do it on your phone. It did not say, I did not find where it said you can do it via your Mac. I'm guessing you can. Additional price can be added for $6 per month. Here's the fine print. Devices must be less than 4 years old, and headphones must be less than 1 year old. Only devices in your Apple account can be covered by your AppleCare One. Fees and deductibles apply, whatever that means. You might have to verify the condition of your items that you want to add to this. Evidently, they can do that either at a store or online. Although the Apple Vision Pro was not pictured in that first slide, it would seem that it's able to be covered by AppleCare One. If you have a Vision Pro, Marty, you might want to do this because for $20 a month, just the AppleCare Plus for Vision Pro is $25 a month. So you're saving money there. Is it for you? As in most things, that depends. Your risk tolerance and how likely the product will be damaged. Are you a Butterfingers or not? Um, how likely? I'm more likely to put portable devices under AppleCare than stationary ones. Your history with damaged products might be important. I strongly recommend that you run the numbers for your device and situation. Now, Susan Clement, who is here with us, has asked me to kind of summarize an email that she sent to me that she bought AppleCare One for three new devices, and she bought AppleCare for three devices in June, but did not take it out on the MacBook Air that she just bought from Costco because the MacBook Air was in a better deal there than from Apple. Then Apple announced AppleCare One, and a few days ago, she purchased AppleCare One for all four devices and got credits for the unused AppleCare that she had previously purchased. So it looks like Apple's being pretty good about this as far as that goes. How well they respond to it, down the road, we'll have to figure that out as we get there. Are there any questions or observations?
I have a
Kevin, go
question,
ahead.
Bob. Yeah, one thing I've been looking online that I can't find out. It says that you could add a device that's up to 4 years old. With original Apple Care, you can keep on renewing it no matter the age. So if I have a 6-year-old Apple product that has Apple Care, I can't get Apple Care One on it, but I could continue Apple Care. If I have a new device that say is 2 years old, what happens when it becomes older than 4 years? Does Apple Care One just stop working, or will it continue as long as you own the device and keep on going forever like normal Apple Care used to do?
I I agree that it was not crystal clear to me. I presume and assume, and you know what happens when you assume, um, that it will just keep going and going and going like the Energizer Bunny.
But I can't find that anywhere other. The only thing they say is that you're to have Apple Care One, it says the device has to be under 4 years old.
To put it on the account, yes. Does
Yeah,
that
but it
mean
doesn't.
what happens at 5 years old? I don't know.
Yeah, because I have some devices that I'm continuing monthly. This may be a better deal, but at the same time, some of them are under me and some are under Sue's name,
So, well, it
and
has
that
to be
that throws
under
a wrench
one
into there.
Apple account.
Right?
I don't think they offer anything as a family account.
They do not, and I asked them about that, and they
Okay.
say if I change it, she has to pay 20 and I pay 20. It's not worth it for the 750 that we're paying for our iPad now.
Hmm. Okay. So
I
that's what we know,
I have
even
a
though we don't
comment.
know everything. Go ahead, Roger.
I tried to add my Mac Mini M4, which I recently purchased, and it wouldn't let me. So I'm assuming that I can't add that until it's off of its original warranty.
Well, it seems that Susan's experience says that she can do that, um, that she was able to get credit for what she's already paid. So I don't know who you have to talk to for that. Chris, do you have some background on this?
And well, I had a question. Is it repairs only, or does it include any theft and loss, like for a
It
phone?
said it said theft and loss.
For phones and iPads
Oh,
only.
okay.
So
And the normal caveats you have to have Find Me enabled. And I don't know if their prices have gone up, but they list prices as what screen repairs would cost, what battery repairs would cost under AppleCare One.
it would seem that Marty Gencius put into the chat a Care One calculator. And so if you're interested in this, I would urge you to go there and use it for your devices to see if it is right for you. I presume that's what you're saying, Marty. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did all this by hand when it first came out because I switched over. I figured my monthly fees, because I have a lot of products and I use a lot of AppleCare. My monthly fees were about $90. And then when I combined those elements like the Vision Pro headset, my monthly fees dropped to about $56. So it was a considerable savings on a monthly basis for me. And I'm unusual. I have a lot of products and but what you have to be careful about is when they say you can cover an iPad. Well, iPads have different fee structures for coverage depending on what iPad you have. So if you have a Pro M4, you're going to get it's going to cost you more monthly than if you have a standard iPad, and the coverage might be as low as $6, which means it's a break even if you pay it as a monthly contract or if you add it onto your Apple One. And so I made decisions. There were certain items that I had that were below the 599 margin, and I kept those as monthly payments, and I added in things that were at the 599 or above. And some of them I had signed up for a year or 2 year contract. And after I did the sign up, like the next day, I started getting reimbursed from Apple in Apple Cash or in credit to my account to the tune of about $400, $450. And so that doesn't stay in my Apple account long. My son, who started a new job, I went and purchased him an M4 Mini, so he'd have a good desktop device at home to work with. So yeah, I mean, it was really quite a good deal for me to do all that.
Okay.
Marty, this is Diana. Um,
Hmm.
I, I, did you do all of that work and sign up yourself, not talking to an Apple representative?
Yep, I did it all on my Mac. And I think there came a point where I had to switch to another device. Maybe I switched to my phone at that point. I just can't remember, but I initiated it on my Mac. And what it would do is then you would see your devices bundled under AppleCare One, or Apple One Care, or whatever you want to call it. So then you would get a listing. You can look to see what your coverage is through your phone. I believe you can find out what's covered in terms of Apple Care. And from there, on my phone, those things started to shift into one big grouping called Apple Care One. As I added them to the under that particular plan.
Hey, Marty, did you hear my question to Bob earlier about I know like with AppleCare originally they said as long as you continue to pay, you'll be covered. I
Yeah,
haven't read that anywhere on AppleCare One.
yeah, and I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to cut their market at 4-year-old devices, and folks who are on 6-year devices and continue to pay, they're going to be on that pay structure, and they don't want to bring that device in that's 6 years old into a structure where you're going to get a discount and the risk of what you're doing with that device increases with age.
So
So I think it's a I
what about newer devices after they become older than 5 years? Will they be dropped from AppleCare One? There's
uh I
it
don't
just
know.
says to
I'll
sign
tell you in
up.
5 years.
They're called vintage at that point.
Yeah. I
You know,
just, Kevin, I'm sorry, I don't know what happens when my devices go past 4 years on AppleCare One. I presume they continue to cover it. They're just not going to bring in devices that are currently existing that
right.
are over 4 years into the plan. They're going to keep you on
Hmm.
whatever you're paying.
Okay.
And I think
Okay.
that's a monetary financial decision on Apple's
If
part. Yeah.
if someone were to sign up and it was not a good deal, would the sign up process stop them and say, this isn't going to benefit you. Stay with what you got.
No, I mean that's why these sites that I put up, and there was one that
Okay.
Jeff Gamet talked about, and I didn't put it down, but these are ones I did by a Google search that it will tell you what your savings are, and you kind of have to make the decision. It's not going to tell you, hey, this is it better if you stay where it is. You just have to look at what you can do with with the amount that you're paying under Apple Care for a device and how long that what you're going to save on it. Like I'm saving $5 a month on my Vision Pro headset just by paying the $20. And then I still have two other devices I can put in it. Now, what I do know is I can pull things out of Apple Care One or Apple One because I can move that and revert it back to standard coverage. So if I get a new device and I want to have that bundled instead of an iPad, I can pull the iPad out and put the new device in under that particular bundle. But what I've got is the $20 bundle covering my most expensive devices in terms of coverage. And then I look at each other device to see what the cost is. And so I have another iPad that would cost me $12 a month. And instead, I'm paying an extra $5.99 to have it bundled under my Apple Care. So I'm saving a monthly fee on that device. So it's fluid. You can move things in and out of it.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, just with my iPhone 16 Pro Max, I think that was 267 with the theft loss, and divided by 12, if I calculated this right, that's 22.25 a month.
Mhm.
So I'm already $2.25 to the good just by switching for my phone alone. That's
Yeah.
quite interesting.
Okay, we're going
Yeah.
to move forward
Yeah.
here and go on to the best time to upgrade your OS. And since Chris Wesselman is appearing on my screen right now, I'm going to call on him to. The idea here is several of us are going to give the way we look at when is the right time to upgrade your OS, and should you move forward, and when do you move forward, and when are you comfortable with that? So, since I see Chris here, Chris, what is your theory on this?
Well, I'm kind of a hybrid guy. On the phone, I waited for the third, I think it was the second or third public beta. A lot of this is based on Reddit feedback in terms of things that I see that may be broken. Um, long time ago, I had an issue with an iPad or an iPhone beta where there were some issues with the phone. I pretty doubt very much that Apple would release anything like that today, but I found it pretty stable. I usually wait for the second or third public beta, and a lot revolves around when I have time because it's a big switch. And we don't get all the documentation with the beta, so a certain amount of it we have to figure out on our own, do a lot of reading with Mac Rumors, which I spend all day on anyway. And, so that's fine. However, when it comes to my Mac, I wait for the release candidate, which is the one before the actual, usually a week before the software actually comes out. And a lot of times there isn't a change between the release candidate and so I get the software a week early and, I can save time and not get in the huge crowd when the release actually comes out. Um, again, I mean, there are a couple of caveats here. I mean, one for sure. I learned this lesson at work years ago because I had the professors I supported, I think there were about 40 faculty and about 200 staff, and then there are all the students. They varied in their capabilities. And this one professor was really sharp, and I almost had trouble keeping up with him. And I remember I upgraded his OS, and he came back the following, several days later, and he said, I won't do that again. And I said, oh, why? What happened? Well, he went to a meeting, and it was an all-day meeting, and he hadn't had any chance to play with the OS. And all of a sudden he was confronted with new stuff and was there in a conference live and sort of stumbling around. So it's a good idea to, when you're going to upgrade your OS, have some time to play with it and get used to it, so there isn't something you vitally need to do and all of a sudden it's different and you're not sure what it is. But of course, if you wait for the releases, there's plenty of documentation and explanations by then of what's going on. So um, that's pretty much what I do. Now, there are other people here like Marty that jumped in right away, with the developer betas. I'm not quite that courageous.
Okay, we're going to move on to Kevin, who during the Ask Me Anything session or in the intermission, he said that he had two different tracks as far as upgrading. So, Kevin,
Well,
what are your two tracks?
well, first off, I used to be I would do any beta that Apple would do, but that was years ago. Now what I do is, depending on the device that I own and what I use it for, will depend on, for my equipment, whether I run new software or beta software or just stay old. Um, I have an iPad Pro that the only thing I used it for was to stream music. I never felt that the iPad was really usable until I read reports about iPad 26 beta. So I threw that on there, and now I find I'm using my iPad a lot more. So that was the good thing. As far as the Mac OS, on my main machine, I will probably wait until it becomes Golden Master or at least a point 0.1 update on my working computer. One thing that Ridge stated in the dot in the show notes earlier was that the 2019 MacBook Pros can support Tahoe, only the 16-inch. I have a 13. The 13 and the 15 from 2019 will not support Tahoe, so I'm going to be staying back. So on my main machine that I use, I'm probably going to be staying back for a while, and I will run Tahoe in a virtual machine just to get a look and feel for the differences. That's one approach for me. Another approach is what I have for my clients. I always tell my clients, do not upgrade. Updates are okay, upgrades are taboo. Depending on what they are doing, what they use their computers for, I will then determine what's best for them to do an update or an upgrade. Because as Melissa has a lot of clients that are older people do not like change. And when you tell somebody, hey, this just came out on the iPhone, check it out, it's cool, they'll look at it and they're scared and they don't want to do that. So for the iOS devices, I usually wait until it's 0.2, 0.3 for them to upgrade, where I've had enough time to get familiar with it. I could walk them through it before I do an upgrade. For their computers, I see what they're doing. I still have clients that are using 10.15, some that are using Big Sur. They have no need to upgrade the new features. They're never going to use them. And I take it on a person by person basis. And Bob, you're on
I'm
mute.
muted, aren't I? That's really good information, Kevin, and pretty much what I'm talking about, what is right for you. And so we're trying to present a whole bunch of theories by different people here and you kind of need to pick out which one works for you or what combination of this and that and the other works for you.
Bob, let me just say one other thing is a lot of people, I keep on hearing from people that, well, I've been told to upgrade for security reasons. Anybody, and that's true for an update, but when it comes to upgrading for security reasons, 90% of my clients only care about accessing email or the web. If you're worried about the web for security reasons, stop using Safari, change to Firefox.
Okay.
Firefox does security updates on a weekly, monthly basis. If you're on 10.15, you can still use the latest Firefox with all the new security in there.
DuckDuckGo.
DuckDuckGo is more of a search engine than it is a browser.
There is a
Okay.
browser version of DuckDuckGo though, Kevin, and I hope not everybody installs it because it created a big mess for one of my clients.
Yeah, I think it's based on Chrome, isn't it?
Not too sure about that because I only just use the search engine. I don't use the
Yeah,
browser.
I haven't used the browser either.
You might want
Now,
to try it out sometime. I'm planning to because evidently it just automatically starts collecting all your passwords, just like Chrome will, and then it conflicts with one password. Yeah.
That's why I thought it was Chrome based because it
Yeah.
does a lot of things that Chrome did,
I
which
use
I tell people to stay away from as well.
Me too. Yeah.
I use DuckDuckGo to read ebooks from the Gutenberg project.
You use the browser to do that?
I browse over to the Gutenberg.org.
But are you doing it in Safari with DuckDuckGo set as the search engine, or are you using the actual DuckDuckGo browser app?
I'm using the browser app.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, you can do that in Safari if you want.
Yeah, is there a reason, Rich, why you prefer the DuckDuckGo app just specifically for that task?
Okay, this is not really a conversation about browsers. It's more of a conversation about
Sure.
when to upgrade. And I'm glad that Kevin has brought up upgrade and update. I meant to do that at the start.
Yes.
A definition of update is 15.1 to 15.2. That's an update. An upgrade is from macOS 15 to macOS 26. So the upgrade is a much bigger jump than just the updates. And basically, I'll put up the updates real soon after they've come out. And since we got Melissa talking to us already,
Bob, can I say
Um,
one more thing before I switch over? We switch
okay.
over to Melissa. A lot of people don't know that when you go to the software update system settings, if it tells you that there's software upgrade available, if you look further down, there'll be a little box that says other updates may be available. Click on more info. That is where the updates are. There is no separate box that says that, hey, you have 13.7.1 and 13.7.7 is out. You have to click on that more info button to see what updates are available. So a lot of
Okay.
people that go to there says they think their only option is to go up to Sonoma. They don't realize that there are older updates that are still available.
Which are generally bug fixes and
Bug
security
fixes
updates.
and security updates, correct.
Okay. Okay, Melissa, do you have something to add for your clients?
Sure. So Kevin covered a lot of it already. And then I was glad that Kevin mentioned the software update in the system settings because I was going to bring that up too. I see that a lot also where I'll ask somebody what version they're running and they'll tell me, but I know a little bit better that it probably is a different version. So yeah, you have to scroll down. Now you're talking about on an iPhone typically, but also when you go into the system settings, Kevin, how do you typically set it up in system settings on macOS? Because
That
there's
is on macOS. Um,
because I see that on the
on
iPhone. You have to scroll down.
yeah. Well, on iPhone, you have to scroll down to do the upgrade.
Read the upgrade. Usually it'll
Right,
just download it. It won't just
right.
automatically just install it because that had been a problem in the past. And that's one of the reasons why we're having this discussion because I think a lot of people probably have some leftover fear from the days when you would just wake up one morning and it would be upgraded and you'd pick up your phone and it would look really different. And then, for a while there wasn't that many changes that would make that much of a difference. But, back from what was it, like iOS 7, there was a huge change where I got a lot of like panicked emails and phone calls like, I don't know where anything is anymore. Now, I don't expect that to happen with iOS 26, with macOS 26. I don't think it's just going to move everything all over the place where you won't even know where to like make a phone call anymore, I don't think it's going to look that. It is going to look different, but like for example, one of the things I'm most concerned about, especially for my peeps, is there are some design aspects in the glass look that are, clear, and I am concerned about the readability, legibility, contrast, especially for people with low vision. I have some concerns about that. So, like I told Bob, I usually typically wait as long as I can until I'm like, oh crap, there's people that are just going to be updating automatically, and I'm going to get a bunch of phone calls. So for this one, I'm going to be trying to upgrade a little bit earlier because I do not the beta though. Um, I rely on the people on the bleeding edge to do that, but I read a lot and I watch a lot of YouTube videos and I read a lot of articles and I look at a lot of screenshots and I ask a lot of questions ahead of time, especially for I'm in touch with a few developers here and there, especially for apps. I ask them, what about this? Is this going to be impacted? And so, I'll get an answer about that. So I'm concerned about those kinds of things. But back to my point about the system settings, there's toggle switches. Like I'm looking at mine right now on my Mac, and it says download new updates when available, install macOS updates, install application updates from the App Store, and install security responses and system files. And right now, I have all of those switches on because I do plan on updating.
Ooh.
But you might want to not do that because you don't want to wake up to, a brand new operating system. I try to advise people to, leave the security response systems on, but not to turn on just the automatically install macOS updates. I mean, lately it's been
Right.
pretty good, these last couple ones where it hasn't just done it even though it says it's turned on. I've never had it just like personally, I've just never had it just do what I told it to do, thankfully, because I've had that switch on to see, and like especially on my iPad. My iPad is a little bit more of my test machine. So I definitely want to protect my iPhone and my Mac, but my iPad is what I kind of do a lot of like playing around on. So I'll typically upgrade that first. So you might want to go into your system settings now ahead of the 26 update and make sure that that switch for install macOS updates, well, that's just updates, but the
That's
the
updates, not
upgrades,
upgrades.
yeah, not upgrades. So, I mean, you should be keeping those on to keep them on, but like right now, there doesn't seem to be anything that says that it's just going to upgrade without you knowing about it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's just going to do that. And if it does, at least it might download it in the background so that it's ready for you. That it will do, but it won't just apply it to your system without you having to enter a password and things like that. So you don't have to be afraid of that anymore. But I just encourage everybody to go and try to read some articles, look at some YouTube videos, look at some images, ask questions like I do, or reach out to some of us if you have a specific concern about a design. So for example, like in the new version of 26, like I said, I am a bit concerned about one of those visual changes that you can make where you can make it look like it's glass. And a lot of people are going to think that's really super cool, but a lot of us are like, I want to be actually read, I want to read it. I don't want it to just look cool. So not everybody has the same kind of vision strength as everybody else. So that's just only one of my concerns. But that particular look and design is not the default, from my understanding. And again, I haven't seen the betas yet, but from what I've seen in the introduction, it's going to be colorful, but it's not going to be that clear look by default. So I
Yeah,
don't
well,
the clear. I mean, like I'm talking about
on
where it's just kind of black and white or just gray. It's like a gray tone. It looks just like glass. It doesn't have any color to it. That's one of the looks
on
that you can
some of the
apply.
items, on some of the items, it's glass only. It's depends on what Apple, and if it's an app, it will depend on the developer. But the operating
Yeah.
system, some of the stuff that's glass is glass only with that's kind of transparent.
It is transparent, but yeah, I think we're going to have to dig deep into those accessibility settings and
I haven't
find out if
found
we
them
can
yet.
the what?
I haven't found them if they're there. And I looked
Really?
because I've had people that were concerned about that.
Yeah, yeah, that's my big concern. So that's what we're going to want to be addressing. So for that reason, I'm going to be upgrading earlier so that I can try to get a jump on that because those are definitely my concerns. Like you said, it really depends on the individual, and I do have a lot of individuals who are going to be having problems with that if we don't find a way to get to it and like turn on the contrast. But there again, yeah, you're going to want the security updates turned on. But when this comes out, I mean, like we said, we're probably, for other people, we're not going to be recommending that you get it day one. It's just not, it's never recommended. For people like us who help other people, we're going to want to have it as soon as possible. But I usually I try to wait until there's at least like a point or two because there is typically a lot of bugs in the beginning, even though it's the gold master. So yeah, those are the things that it depends on. Another big thing is, of course, the software that you use. Um, you might have dedicated software. A lot of them, you'll go to the website of the developer who designed the software, and they'll usually tell you, they're the head of the game. Like say, for example, Rogue Amoeba is the type of software for podcasters, and they're usually pretty ahead of the curve. They'll let you know that they're ready, day one. But some of the other, like even, it used to be that like Adobe would lag behind pretty far. They were a little slow out the gate. I know a lot of people that would wait and wait and wait because, Photoshop is what butters their bread. Another big thing is printer drivers. I have several older printers laying around, and I usually go to the printer's website and find out if their drivers are available for that operating system. And a lot of them will work. There's other ways you can get around it. There might be other pieces of software you can use to try to make those printers last longer, but that's another big thing, especially if you've got a printer that's fairly old. You're going to want to make sure that that website has a driver that supports it, or at least do some research and find out if other people are having similar issues. So hardware is a big thing. Printers is just one thing. You might have another piece of hardware, like, I don't know, some kind of like a science gadget or something that you're using if you're like a teacher that is going to depend on the drivers. Are the developers who make the drivers for that hardware, are they keeping up to date? Are they ahead of the curve? Are they typically behind? You're going to want to go to their websites and read what they have to say about that. So yeah, definitely apps or software and hardware is a big consideration.
Very, very good, Melissa. It's important for every one of us to be careful. Now, my theory behind this is different for the Mac than it is for the iPad and the iPhone. For the Mac, I'm pretty darn conservative. I follow the Roger Harmon um, way of looking at it, which is don't update until dot three, and then do your research, and then maybe it's time to update for your Mac. For iOS and iPad OS, I'm a little more able to update sooner, mostly because of the walled garden. I don't buy any apps for my iPhone or iPad that are not in the app stores run by Apple. And I don't think I will do that in the future, that I will always go through the App Store. The Mac is a little bit different, so I tend to wait longer on the Mac than I do on the iPhone and iPad. iPhone and iPad, I'll probably wait until dot one and then try it out, and maybe dot one for the Mac for my um, MacBook Air to give it a try. And uh, Curtis told me that his theory on update is pretty much the same as mine. And I'm guessing that Roger is pretty much in line with that as well. In that case, we're going to move forward to the Macstock recap. Macstock is something that both Roger and I have gone to this year and in years past. And we have a keynote for that as well. And here's the logo for Macstock 9, which was the one earlier in July of this year. And so this is a retrospective through Roger's eyes and my eyes.
Hey, Bob, real quick, can I make
Yeah.
one comment about Tahoe that I just remembered? If anybody is using a time capsule or for time machine backups, Tahoe drops support for Apple File Protocol, which is what is used by those. So your older Apple time machines and time capsules will not work under Tahoe. So that's another
And
concern that people have to worry about.
and all of those are officially unsupported and obsolete, correct?
Yeah, but they still work under under Sonoma and
Okay.
Sequoia, but they will not work under Tahoe.
Okay. Again, be careful. Do your research. And that's also a good advertisement for the T-Mug Talk mail list group. If you are on the fence about something like that, ask the questions in T-Mug Talk, and you'll get answers. And there's a good chance that they'll be the right answers. So, but it's not guaranteed. Okay, on to Macstock. Roger and I go to Macstock, and we drive there, and Roger acts as my co-pilot, navigator, looking up stuff on the internet thing, making the reservations from the road for hotels and so forth. And so one of the things we wanted to do this year was stop at Buc-ee's, which is like a huge gas station and convenience store. And there's one in Amarillo, Texas, which is generally our first stop after leaving Tucson. So this is the road trip. And the morning of day two, we got to Buc-ee's. And we posed next to the statue of Buc-ee. And so we're just a couple of Arizona boys with a new friend. Here's a small section of the convenience store. It's a big freaking place. I think, Roger, it's 75,000 square feet for
Yes,
just
that's
the
correct.
convenience store part.
Yeah, and
And
they have between 90 and 120 gas pumps at each place.
and we looked, if you see Roger in this picture, and he's talking to a very nice lady who was cleaning and polishing the DEF pumps. We didn't understand what DEF was, but she was able to tell us it's diesel emissions
Fluid.
fluid. It's pumped into the stream of the diesel exhaust, and it reduces the bad stuff by a lot. And day 3 was the last day on the road, and we had some slack time, so we went a little further and we went into Wisconsin, to Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, to look around for a while. They had a very nice little uh, museum that we went to. And then this is a place that has been known for tourists from Chicago for 100 years. And they're going to have a lot of places that you can buy stuff. And if you want, you can take a side-wheeler steamboat trip out onto the lake. We did not do that because we did not have the whole day to spend there. But we also needed lunch, so we stopped at a bar and restaurant near the lake. And
yeah, it was called Popeyes.
Popeyes. Okay, thank you, Roger. And being someplace that's that close to the water, obviously you pay for it a little bit in the price of your food. The food was okay. Wasn't bad, wasn't great. And then we went back down to Crystal Lake, Illinois, the Holiday Inn. This is where the hotel is and the conference center. It's all in one complex. Here's what the conference center looks like from the outside. This is the hardest working guy at Macstock. Roger was running the board for the audio and the video the whole time. The guy behind him is Mike Potter. He's the guy who thought up Macstock. He also happens to be a TMUG member. But not even he worked as hard or as many hours as Roger. Roger was there for every presentation all day long, all 3 days. Presentation started at 9 and easily went till 5, and sometimes there was stuff happening after hours. Mike Potter is the host, and he is here giving away a door prize. And he works very hard too to make this all happen. And then there was the presentation. It starts off with Marty, who is a TMUG member, and he is still with us. And he is doing his presentation called Juicy Bites of Apple Intelligence. He will be presenting an updated version of this presentation to us in the early part of next year. By that time, there might be more bites and more juice for him to talk about. Next presenter was Mike Schmitz, and he's talking about using artificial intelligence as your creative co-pilot, and keep moving forward with this. Then Jeff Gamet, someone you might have heard of, especially if you listen to Mac Voices or one of his other podcasts. And he talked about online privacy and security. Kirshen Sia. She said her last name is pronounced like, we'll see you later. And she talked about passkeys. And here's someone who has graced our virtual stage in the past, Jill McKinley. And I don't know if you can see it here, but since she was at TMUG last in January of 24 or 25, she has lost like 60 pounds. And so she talked about taking control of your health with Apple. And she will be doing a presentation for us in December, which is the time that we should be starting to think about getting in shape rather than on January 2nd. This Macstock was partially funded by Ecamm, which is the software that is used to do all the recordings of Macstock. And it's the software that Marty uses to record his podcast as well. And these are two of the people that Ecamm sent out. Doc Rock was someone you may have heard of, and they had an after hours presentation in a breakout room, answering questions about Ecamm, and talked about it on stage as well. Dave Ginsburg. Dave Ginsburg did a presentation I call Screenshot Superstar. That's not what he called it. He works in the enterprise environment all day long, so it sounded more enterprisingly than friendly. So, but he'll be showing us how to do screenshots and screen recording and how that may help us communicate with our Macs in the future. Here's Allison Sheridan, someone who is probably known to all of us with her NosillaCast podcast and other podcasts. And she did a very nice presentation about using Apple Photos on Mac OS. And she'll be presenting that to us in the future. There was one or two things that I did not know about photos that, oh, yeah, that was almost worth the price of admission there. And Chris Cook, who is without sight, and she talked about empowering blind and low vision users with inclusive tools. Now, that's something that's pretty narrowly focused, but I saw her in the audience dialing her iPhone, and I'm not sure how she does it, but she's able to do that. Mac Voices. If you don't listen to the Mac Voices podcast, I suggest you start subscribing. It's run by Chuck Joyner, and you see all these people who were up there. And I'm not sure if that's going to be included in a digital pass or not, or if this is only available through Mac Voices on YouTube. Brett Terpstra talked about demystifying Mastodon. Since I don't use Mastodon, it wasn't of too much help to me. Brian Flanagan Arthurs, who is also an Arizonan. He lives in the Phoenix area, but I won't hold that against him. And he talked about automation as well. Nice guy. And Marty Gensius and his son, Will Gensius, did a presentation called Tech Tools for the Smarter Travel. This is one that was not so much, oh, you ought to buy this thing, or this really helps you there. He wanted the input for Tech Tools for Smarter Travel from the audience. And he had little interesting door prizes for everybody who came up, for 12 people who came up and presented, or at least talked about or shared the link for their special favorite tools. And to close it out, Allison Sheridan did another one talking about, she called Chain of Happiness, Share Your Knowledge. And this was basically a advertisement for user groups. And so that helped helped us all out as well, and made everybody there even more understanding of user groups and the power of their um, what they can do for everybody. Okay, how do you share in the fun and the knowledge of Macstock? Well, you could go to Macstock next year. Mark your calendars for July 10, 11, and 12. It'll still be at the same venue in Crystal Lake, Illinois. You can see all the presentations from Macstock 9 with a digital pass. A couple of our members have already signed up for the digital pass, and the presentations and recordings that Roger made will need to be worked on by Mike Potter, and he will publish them when they are ready. And this is going to be RSN real soon now. If you are interested in a digital pass, you can get 20% discount with the coupon code TMUG20. Is having a digital pass as good as going? No, it's not. Because, and even Roger is shaking his head, because what you get with a digital pass is the presentations. And those are good. Those are important and they can teach you a lot. But you don't get the hallway track. You don't get the lunchroom track. You don't get the evening track of stuff that's happening outside of the formal presentations. One of the things I found is at lunch one day, a guy who makes guides for use within Apple Maps. Basically, let's say that somebody is really knowledgeable about some city, Atlantic City, and this is the places you ought to go to. Don't go to this place. Here's some, just down from there is this other place that you should try, or this restaurant. And you can make a guide that you can share with other people through Apple Maps, and then they can benefit from your knowledge, or you can benefit from their knowledge. And so he's going to make a presentation for us on guides within Apple Maps. So, and that was something that only happened at the lunchroom. And that's why every lunch, Roger and I sat at different tables because I know Roger. I just spent 3 days with him driving to Macstock. I don't need to talk to him at lunch as well. But and we all sat at different tables, so we got to talk to different people and learn from them. Okay, are there any questions about Macstock that we might be able to answer tonight? Are there any other things that we should be talking about before we end our meeting this evening?
Thank you, Bob. That was very interesting.
And since this is in the Chicago area with a major airport that I really hate driving to, but it is, relatively easy to get to. Probably the only other place that I've been that's easier to get to and move around is probably Las Vegas. So if you want to come, really consider it. It's really something to do. Are there any last minute comments or things we need to talk about, or should we go on to the portion of the meeting that we are all waiting for, which is the raffle prize? Okay, then we're going to move ahead to the raffle prize. I have a list of attendees. And since we have a brand new member with us tonight, Beth, can you pick a number between 1 and 28 or ask the S lady to do that for you.
Yay,
Let's-
Beth.
Let's go with 17.
Good number.
17. 17 is Gary, who's not in the meeting right now, but he's our member. He's one of the members we have from Ohio, along with Marty. And so Gary will get the um, door prize, which is a Apple gift card for $30. And I will send that off to him tomorrow. And I thank everybody for being here this evening. And I hope that you all join us again and live long and prosper.
And fill out the poll.
And fill out the poll, which, if everything's working right, should happen when you leave the meeting. It should pop up in front of you. Please give it a look, and hopefully our newsletter next month will be a little more polished and will be ready for you maybe even an hour earlier or so.
Don't forget to save the chat.
Yep, I see that as well. Thank you, Melissa. And Susan, I will send that off to you post haste, because I even remember where the button is to save the chat. Save the chat. Okay.
You can be taught new things.
Yeah, I'm
You're
sort of
living
trainable.
proof.
I'm sort of trainable now and again. Gretchen might disagree.
I was going to say, don't tell Gretchen.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a good month, and come back and see us next month. And I apologize that I'm going to be part of the presentations this month and September and October. But if all things go right, after that, I won't be doing any presentations until like April of next year, maybe. So, yeah, thank you, Chris, for, yeah, we're getting tired of listening to this guy.
Better you than me.
Yeah.
Or me.
All right, guys, have a good monsoon, and we will see you in a month.
Thanks for
See you
coming,
next
Beth.
month.
Good to see you.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Good night.